Лучше мы пойдем в сторону
We'd better go
бомбоубежища.
to bomb shelter.
Что, идем-ка зайдем сюда?
This way. Now hurry, let's go.
It's 10 a.m. on October 10th. I'm in Ashkelon, Israel's most bombed city in the past few days.
You have to wait after the air alert for a while because of the falling debris.
It's less than 6 miles from here to the security fence separating Israel and the Gaza Strip under the Palestinian control. Today, we're reporting from Israel that has seen over the past few days an unprecedented and most violent escalation of the Arab-Israeli conflict for the past 3 decades. Hamas attacked Israel. Israel is bombing Gaza, and both sides have declared it a war. Israel has formed a cabinet to manage the war of a scale and brutality unseen for the last 50 years, ever since the 1973 October War. Each war has 2 sides. And the focus of our reports is always on the people on both sides. So we're going to speak to the people who have suffered due to recent events, both in Israel and in Gaza.
Началось
It
всё
started
с
at
утра, мы
6
даже не думали,
We
естественно, до
never
этого,
expected anything
где
like
вообще
this to
прятаться,
happen and
что
never
такое произойдет,
planned
потому
where
что
we'd hide in
неизвестно было.
case. There was
что
nothing
что-то
to
может,
indicate that a war could break out so
так резко
suddenly.
начаться
On
война.
October 7th, Hamas fired thousands of rockets across southern Israel, with sirens heard as far away as Tel Aviv, where Mariana lives.
I was getting ready to go to work when I heard sirens going off, and it was kind of distant, so I didn't even understand first if it was here or in a district nearby.
It took her 30 seconds to realize the threat was real, not a drill.
I came down and I just stopped there in the doorway.
She had seconds to make the decision. It was dark and she had no idea where to run, so she just froze.
I simply froze and kept standing there in the doorway.
Then, she recalls, it all turned into a horror movie, only the kind you couldn't turn off.
It was pitch dark, and then suddenly something crashed. I don't know if it was a missile or some debris, but it came so hard, so I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't see anything. I had dust in my eyes. It was a complete nightmare.
Какой-то ужас.
Hundreds of thousands of people woke up in that horror movie. Over 1,000 were killed, about 5,000 got wounded. That's just a preliminary count in a war that started less than a week ago. This house behind me got hit by a missile, sadly. It got hit in the very first hours on the first day of the attack, right after the sirens went off. Houses hit by missile fragments, shattered windows, and a blue fence around the buildings turned to rubble. This is Florentin, a district in one of Israel's major cities, Tel Aviv. See the mural? Just a week ago, it was a fairly safe and very trendy place frequented by the youth.
It's true that I did feel safe here. I knew that I'm under protection, that we have the Iron Dome, that I could never even think something like this was possible.
Iron Dome is an Israeli air defense system that's considered to be one of the best in the world, capable of intercepting and taking down hundreds of incoming missiles. Hundreds, but not thousands.
I and my boyfriend moved to this neighborhood just 2 days ago. I mean, just 2 days before all this horror started. We moved to Florentin. We've been looking for a place for a long time, and we were very picky. But the only thing that we never even considered, or at least not as a priority, was how safe our house would be.
Mariana has been living in Israel for the past 9 years. She's a photographer. The building that took a direct hit is almost directly across from her new place.
I'm horrified to think what would have happened if the missiles struck a bit further this way, even one house closer. I still can't wrap my head around it.
Looking at the pile of rubble next to her house, Mariana's friends are also shocked that she was so close to death.
It was awful. And where were you? I was home. I'm telling you, look, I even got nicked. Oh, what? I say, what the...
This is what Tel Aviv looked like after the missile attack. The situation in the cities and villages closer to the border on Gaza is even worse, specifically for the People Project. Reporter Nicola Rabowski went to Ashkelon, the city that withstands air attacks by Hamas every day. On the morning Nicola arrived in Ashkelon, this tiny city was bombed by 100 missiles. Ashkelon is located merely a half mile away from the border on the Gaza Strip, and it's the largest city being bombed right now. and it's been bombed practically every day since this war started. The Iron Dome is unfortunately failing to intercept this many missiles. Intercity bus service is now working very poorly because the drivers have been mobilized. Not all of them, but many. So the only way buses work today is that you have to hop on whatever bus you see and hope it takes you wherever you need. The streets of Ashkelon are empty. The city looks almost dead.
Всем привет, меня зовут Сима Цур.
Hello everyone, my name is Simatsur. I live in Ashkelon, Israel. Last Saturday on October the 7th, the war started here. We were woken up by the wailing of the sirens. It was deafening.
Whenever anyone dares to go out and go somewhere, they keep walking within reach of bomb shelters on the way. They've got plenty of those.
This one is a regular public bomb shelter. Let's take a look inside. There's nothing inside, it's a pretty basic bomb shelter. I used it the last time there was an attack. The rule of thumb is you have 30 seconds to hide, but the truth is, it's best to do it under 15 seconds after the sirens go off.
Here's another bomb shelter, a bigger one.
It's got a kitchen, a water cooler, a fridge. There are even some board games for people to play, some jigsaw puzzles, that kind of stuff.
Пазлы, ну что-то такое.
They've even got a library, electricity, filtered air, and a big steel door. Almost all stores are closed. Only some kiosks are still open, and people gather there to discuss the latest news and stock up on food.
Speaking of food, there were some problems with food during the first few days. Today is day 4, and as you can see, we've got eggs, bread, even milk. So basically, we've got everything and can buy food anytime.
You might notice there's a bomb shelter next to this kiosk. The owner of the shop had it built on his own dime. Without a shelter, I can't work. I wouldn't be able to. When the alarm goes off and the missiles are incoming, we've got to.
Hide.
Yeah, that's right. That's the kind of situation we have in Israel right now. Keep working, but not as usual. In an emergency mode. Life goes on. People comply with the instructions of the rear service and take shelter when the air alert goes off, but they still need to buy food and water. We stay strong, we support our army, and we will do everything to encourage our defense forces to do their job. Because, you know, this has to stop. I've been living here for 20 years, and every 6 months now, something happens. This situation needs a solution. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu already declared war last Sunday, and the army responded by a massive bombardment of Gaza.
Right, and you can hear all sorts of loud bangs and noises and explosions. You can hear the helicopters flying to Gaza, and you can hear the bombs being dropped on Gaza too. Today, the Israeli Defense Force is very actively eliminating targets in Gaza, so I believe what we can hear right now is the sound of them flying there.
The government says that only military targets are being eliminated, but taking them out without causing any harm to the surroundings is impossible. Look, the entire area of the Gaza Strip is 140 square miles, like that of a third of Manchester. But Gaza is home to over 2 million people, while Manchester's population is slightly less. Gaza is a very densely built up area, which is why civilian casualties are also inevitable. We heard an explosion, which shook up the entire neighborhood. We rushed to the site to see what had happened and saw lots of burned bodies. Many were impossible to identify. A total of about 50 people were killed here.
I was at my daughter's house. When we went back to check up on our house, we saw that it had been reducted to rubble. There was nothing left. Where should we go? We received evacuation alerts, so I left my daughter's house and came here to see my own home razed to the ground. There's nothing left, no doors, no windows, no water tanks. Everything's been destroyed. I just want to tell the world about it. Where can I live now with my children? With my little daughter and my disabled husband.
On October 7th, Israel cut off power supply to Gaza. 2 days later, it cut off water supply. According to the latest reports, Israeli airstrikes killed 770 people and wounded 4,000. The numbers are growing as Israel keeps pounding Gaza. The only way out of the Gaza Strip is into Egypt via checkpoints that only serves a limited number of people per day, and you have to be on the list. So basically, Palestinians are now cut off from the entire world and on the verge of a humanitarian disaster. Sima invited us to her house in Ashkelon. She wanted to show us her bomb shelter there, but then a siren went on.
Она вдалеке где-то звучит.
It's not
прямо
here,
здесь.
somewhere far away.
Но
But
лучше
we'd
мы
better
пойдем
go
в
to
сторону
bomb shelter.
бомбоубежища. Стой, идем-ка зайдем
This way.
сюда. О, пошли.
Now hurry, let's go here.
Идем.
Over here.
Ну вот мы.
Well, this was the first air
Первая
alert
сирена за
today.
сегодня попали.
Once the alert was over, we got out and noticed a piece of missile on the ground.
У нас
We
постоянно во
keep
дворе мы
finding
такие
these
вот
by the
находим
house all the
осколки.
time.
Иногда прям
Sometimes we
слышно,
can
как
hear them
дождь
fall
такой
on the
из
roof
осколков
like an
на
hour in
крышу
rain. That is
падает,
why we
поэтому
can't leave the
нельзя
bomb
выходить
shelter
из
early.
укрытия.
Sima has quite a collection of such fragments at home.
Ну, то далеко не
That's
все,
not
мы
all
каждый
of
раз
them.
думаем, надо их
I
куда-то
thought
в
of
одно
keeping
место
them all
складывать,
in one
там что-то
place, but
теряется.
they get misplaced and
Ну,
lost all the
постоянно вот
time.
такие можно
I keep
находить
picking
после
them
обстрела
outside after each
во
air
дворе.
attack.
Это
These
в
are
основном
mostly
с нашего
those
двора.
I found by the house.
Новости, в
We
принципе,
keep the news
постоянно
on for the
включены, чтобы,
updates on
если
the
что,
current
можно было пойти
situation.
посмотреть, какая
They keep
ситуация прямо
reporting
сейчас.
about active air
Здесь
alerts in
показывают
real
прям, где,
time.
когда сирены, где, в каких городах.
We actually stay inside, all with family,
Мы тут все
and we
сейчас
stay close to our
проводим
bomb
время
shelter.
всей семьей,
Here's
обычно
our safe
поближе к
room.
бомбоубежищу.
We had it
Вот
built with very
здесь у нас
thick
защищенная
concrete
комната.
walls.
Здесь все перестраивали, здесь
We've
толстенные
got fire
бетонные
extinguishers
стены.
here, a battery-powered flashlight, and some
Фонарик,
essential
который,
stuff in case we have to stay here for a while.
Ну, какие-то такие вещи первой необходимости, если тут остаться надолго.
Look at the windows. They've got no glass, and they're very thick and heavy.
То есть вот
This is the window, it's very heavy.
Thick steel.
Они очень
These
тяжелые.
parts are very hard to move. I would close it very tightly now.
And if you think that's too much, look at this footage. 2 days after speaking to us, Sima had glass shattered in her house and found more missile fragments for her collection. The door to the safe room is also made of thick steel and locks from the inside. You might think, why lock it? Many public bomb shelters have no locks, but there is a reason now, and it's a sad one.
То самое
The
страшное, это
worst
что на
thing
территорию
is that
Израиля проникли
terrorists have
террористы.
infiltrated
Они
Israel's
проникли в
territory.
разные-
They
во
entered
много
many
разных
different
поселений,
settlements,
они
killing
убивали людей,
people
они
there
брали
and
людей в
taking
заложники.
hostages.
И
Even
до сих
today,
пор
some of
часть
the
террористов может
terrorists may
находиться
be
на территории
roaming around
Израиля,
Israel,
здесь на юге
especially here in the
особенно.
south. That
Поэтому,
is
в
why
принципе,
people
люди
prefer not to
стараются
leave
не
their
выходить
houses
из
like
своих
we
домов,
do. We've been
как и
staying
мы сидим
inside
дома
all
все
this
эти дни.
time.
Sima hears someone calling her. Perhaps they need help.
Шалом!
Shalom.
Quite an ordinary situation in
Makara,
peaceful
Maika.
times. Someone calls, you ask what they need. But look how careful she is, as if she's scared someone might attack her right here.
Просто попросили
They asked
помощи,
for
я не
help.
знаю,
I
честно,
don't really know what
насколько.
exactly. Come with me.
Идем со мной?
On October 7th, Hamas militants bulldozed through the barrier fence separating Gaza and Israel. Some flew over the barrier on powered parachutes. Hundreds of fighters with guns killed everyone they saw in their way. They killed at least 260 people at a music festival that was taking place near the barrier fence. They broke into people's houses, killing them and taking hostages. This is the reason why Sima was scared to walk into a random house, even though it was just an old man who had asked her to help him make his bed.
You know, I started feeling sort of paranoid. I'm thinking things like, what if some terrorists were in his house, forcing him to call people? All sorts of thoughts now come to mind.
People of Israel are trying to help each other as much as they can. Over 300,000 reservists have been mobilized within 48 hours. Those who stayed are donating blood, queuing outside despite the threat of air attacks. Concert halls and cinemas are now serving as humanitarian aid hubs. For example, here, on a theatre stage, people are distributing the aid. What goes where? The authorities say that all cities have now been cleared of the attackers. But one thing stays clear: the conflict has only started. The People Project's reporter has already landed in Israel, and we are going to continue our reports. Subscribe to our Telegram channel to see all the new videos and photos we post there in real time.